Hey everybody, welcome to OnPodcast, the On Microsoft official podcast, the only podcast for On Microsoft, and I'm going to see how many times I can say on in 20 seconds. I think I've got 5. We are back. We took a short break just to kind of rejigger the podcast a little bit. We are coming back with a new thing for you guys, something to kind of try out today. I am joined with the world's greatest co-host.
Arif Bacchus.
Yeah, and we're going to be having an interview today, which is something nice and new and neat. But, we'll go over what we're going to talk about today before we jump into that interview. Some of the topics we're going to be covering today include not only talking with a developer who seems to be Windows only, and God knows why, but we'll ask him. But we'll also be talking about actually some Windows features, and we'll see how that kind of works in his development process, the new news and interest in the Taskbar.
And then we'll also be talking about Microsoft's new rumored version of Outlook called Project Monarch. You guys might have heard the rumors about this new version of Outlook. So we'll just be looking through, sifting through things, making sense of things, and trying to tell you when we expect to see this thing come to life.
If and when it ever does.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then because we plan to ask some questions, and we hopefully cover some things that you guys might want to know about being a Windows developer or why being a Windows developer. That's going to be the majority of our time. So we want to have a few topics, and then we'll round up with kind of our on podcast feature, which is the week ahead, where we'll be discussing a lot of CES news that will be coming out, things that we're looking forward to, things that and probably a few things that we're hoping to see in 2021, as well as some Edge news, which talks about the support for M1 Max, and then a plan review for Flight Sim in VR, because Arif finally got a headset and he has been in another world, apparently.
Windows mixed reality headset. We're finally back in with it again after my first time trying it in 2017. Here we are in 2021 with Windows mixed reality.
Yeah, we're going to talk about if anything's changed.
So why don't you introduce our special guest, Windows 10 developer Joe Finney?
Yeah, he is, as mentioned, a Windows 10 developer. He's actually come up with a few apps for Windows 10. He's always live on Twitter talking about his development process, pushing his apps. The most recent one is Text Grab, which we'll probably get into early on, which is a really cool feature, allowing you to kind of grab whatever you need to. It's a really advanced version of copy paste, but more intuitive than what Microsoft has even produced so far. It's a paid app, so obviously we want to support him. But again, aside from being a Windows developer, he was also a writer here at on Microsoft. But this is, I believe, back when we were under a different title, different management. But we'll also talk to him about some of that as well.
And here he is. He's waiting to join us through Teams. So I'll admit him right now. And here we have Joe Finney.
Right on time.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. How is it, man?
It's good. It's going pretty good.
So pick up where we left off, Kareem, and tell us about Joe.
Well, like I said, Joe was a past writer. Like he's moved on to bigger and better things. And with that being said, we just kind of want to, learn about those things. I mean, for anybody who isn't following you on Twitter or another social media, shame on them. But just let us know what you've kind of been into before we get into your apps specifically.
Yeah, so I'm a full-time engineer, mechanical engineer. That's my day job. Yeah, it is what it is. Keeps me busy. But I was kind of writing for, at the time, WinBeta, if some of the long-time readers would remember that. So yeah, I was doing that on the side, kind of as a fun little extra thing to do. And then maybe 5 or so years ago, I kind of started using that extra bonus time, if you will, instead of writing. I've been more just getting into Windows development. I did it a little bit at work. There was a project. It was a super complicated, like HR lottery thing. And they were trying to come up with some crazy dice rolling thing. And I was like, I bet I could write a program to do this. So that was like a little bit of the entry. And then I spent more and more of my free time learning and doing it. And then I built a couple apps, and now 5 years later, here I am. That's kind of my side gig kind of stuff.
So was it writing about Windows that got you into wanting to develop Windows apps?
I mean, I've been a Microsoft fanboy. I've been obsessed with Microsoft since, I mean, it's been my whole life, I feel like. Yeah. Yeah, for better, for worse. I feel like it chose me. But I feel like writing about it, I definitely got more of an understanding of like the Microsoft as a bigger company and a broader company and everything that they had to offer. And then also seeing the gaps. The gaps in Windows and the gaps in Office and saying like, oh man, I really wish Microsoft would step in here, and following it so closely. I mean, I remember writing about OneNote features and talking about OneNote, which I love. I mean, OneNote's amazing, but the list of new features, it's a very short list, and a lot of it is focused on classroom usage. And at some point I was like, I'm not going to keep waiting on Microsoft. I mean, I've written so many articles about, the stalling of OneNote. And I used OneNote in a professional setting so much. I mean, so heavily. It's OneNote and on one side, Excel on the other side, and all day. And I just kind of got tired of waiting for Microsoft to make the features. So I'm like, you know what? I think I can figure this out. I think I could learn how to do these little, like, how people always say it's a few lines of code. It never is, it's always more than a few lines of code. But I was like, I bet I could do this. I want a little feature. I'm going to make a little feature for myself. And I did. And it has been working out.
I mean, again, before we jump right into that one, because that was an amazing segue, I'm going to ruin it by asking this question right back.
No problem.
You mentioned that you were at work and they had a raffle and you said that you could write, you could probably write something that would help them out. Mm-hmm. So is this something you learned in school? Like, how did you first get into just development in general?
Yeah. So I didn't take a mechanical engineering degree. So I took maybe 1 or 2 computer programming classes. I've always been a computer nerd. I always knew, how to switch over to the projector and how to, change the fonts and things like that in Windows. So I wouldn't call that like programmer developer kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I actually grew up in the country where we didn't have good internet, and I'm trying to become a developer and we didn't have any classes in school on it. So no classes in school, no good internet to, look things up. I basically kind of thought it was impossible, if you will, to learn how to do it on my own. And then I would always tell people, because I felt like, I have a career, so, I don't need to like learn to be a programmer. And I would tell people, hey, you should learn to program. And people, ask me about computers. And then eventually I was like, you know what, I'm going to take my own advice here. I've been telling people they should learn to program for so long. And now with VS Code, and maybe it was kind of whenever Microsoft switched their strategy around Visual Studio and giving it away for free.
VS Community, right?
Yeah, Visual Studio Community. And it's the, full featured Visual Studio. So when that came around, I was like, okay, I can get, I can write applications. I don't have to pirate software anymore. I can actually get this stuff I can, do it legally. I can have the internet. I have YouTube. I think I can really do this. And that's kind of when I realized myself that I think I'm going to take a stab at trying to learn to program for once.
And he's made some really great Windows 10 apps, by the way. I mean, we forgot to introduce it out of all things. Text Grab was his most recent app. And before that, it was Ink Calendar, which I'm sure everyone knows the built-in calendar in Windows 10 doesn't actually support inking out of all things, like Joe was saying. Yeah. So now he solved 2 big problems in Windows with 2 of his apps.
Yeah, and both of them are definitely problems that I personally had. And that's always my recommendation, because I have now, when people hear that I make little apps on the side, they always ask me like, oh, here's an idea. And I'm like, would you use this? Is this an app you would use? And if they're like, no, I just think that there are people, I'm like, don't do it. Maybe somebody else can do it. But if you don't want to do it, it's not for you. Don't make it. And these were both apps where I was like, I want. I mean, I don't care if anybody else gets it. I want it. I want to use this. So, and there are other people who want it. So that's good too.
Speaking of years, how about we talk about this year and your app, and you give us all the details about it? Because I just again, before you came on, I went to go use the app a few days ago, and I felt like it asked me for a charge, but your app is free, right?
So yeah, I just started charging for it.
So Kareem is right.
Yeah, you're right. Which I can.
No, it's perfect.
No, yeah, I was gonna send you guys a free code, and you can put it in the show notes for this podcast for like, I don't know, 100 free codes or something for listeners. But yeah, it is a weird app, and it's a really basic app. So text grab is the one we're talking about right now.
Correct.
So frequently I will be working and I will want to just get some text that I can see on the screen, and I want to paste it somewhere. And I can't do that because it's a photo or it's a PDF that I can't select the text, or it's in a video or whatever it is. And so this app, all it does is it opens up a window over your screen, and then you select a region, and it takes that and passes it to the Windows 10 OCR API and gives you text, and that's it. It's awesome. Super basic. Yeah. But it's really quick. It does not run in the background. It doesn't collect your data. It doesn't have some proprietary OCR thing that I'm, building some big neural net. I'm not training self-driving cars with it.
So we won't see you in the news in like a year or two.
Well, maybe, but
he's secretly behind Apple Car.
Yeah, right. So I'm not. It's none of that. It's super basic, super simple, and the idea is that it gets out of the way. In my mind, this was for people like myself who might use it, a dozen or 2 dozen or 100 times a day. And it should be as simple as copy and paste, but doing a bunch of cool stuff in the background.
Yeah, that's how I described it before you came on. Like it's a super neat and one of those kind of apps that, once you've used it, you're like, why wasn't this kind of built in? Like, why haven't I been able to do this before?
Yeah. And you can. That's the funny thing. Some people will point out, oh, OneNote does it kind of. Yeah, and then there's actually a feature in the start menu.
Yeah.
Where you can do a screenshot, but it actually
takes you to Bing.
Yeah,
and
it uploads
internet.
Yeah, and it uploads your screenshot to Bing.
Joe's app is all offline. You don't need any internet to use it. You could do it completely disconnected, and it works just fine.
Yeah, you could do it from a submarine.
Yep.
Ooh, take that down.
So, yeah, and it's just a little app that I wanted to make, and it's an app that I don't believe in writing software and then walking away from it. So that's part of why I started charging for it. I'm going to be around. I'm going to be working on this thing I've been working on InCalendar for 4 years, so I'll be working on this for more than that, unless Microsoft puts it in the operating system. But yeah, I plan on adding features. I plan on putting it in different spots. I plan on, I don't know, trying to make it more accurate somehow. Yeah, whatever I can do.
Yeah, if for anybody who's listening, anybody's watching, I think it's well worth it. So we'll give you the link path to go and grab it because it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a sweet little app that, again, it's something that I use every day, and I was like, man, this, I want something quicker, and I made it.
And I thank you for it.
Yeah, people have gone crazy over this app. This is another one of those crazy, like how you start doing something and you think, oh, I really love this, but then nobody downloads it, nobody pays attention to it. So my first app, I was just checking today, has 300 downloads.
Wow.
Text Grab has been out in the store, available for a week and a half, and has over 2,000 downloads.
Wow.
And it's like,
here's gonna be mine. Yeah, I'm actually gonna steal our plain question because it kind of really leads into this. That you see, like you mentioned, you see the gaps. Are there things that are currently in Windows app-wise that you love? Or what are your favorite Windows apps that are currently, as they are being used? And then what are some that you were kind of have your eye on? Like, I could tweak that. I could adjust that one.
Yeah. So this is. I'm an engineer, so the Windows Calculator app is actually really good. I use the converter there. It's quick, it's simple. You can have multiple instances. They do a really good job of that. They added the was a compact overlay, so you can have it on on top of Windows. I use that all the time, and it's one of those. I think the calculator is a great example of an app that could have been less if they could have easily explained away how they just need a basic calculator, but they made a currency converter and they added all these different conversions, and they did a really good job with that, and it's very useful. Which one of those little apps that some people use, and I use it all the time. And I know the mail and calendar apps in Windows 10 are not everybody's cup of tea. At work, I use Outlook, but on my devices, I need basic mail and calendar. Basic mail and calendar. They're there. They're fine. They're simple. It's pops up. It's a fine app, and I think it's a good built-in app. And I know all the Project Monarch stuff is coming out, and that's exciting. And I'm excited to have a consistent feature set like snoozing emails, like stuff like that. That would be nice. But a lot of the built-in apps they're pretty solid.
I mean, now that I'm using a Surface Go 2 more often, and I'm using the touch interface. I know that Microsoft doesn't seem to cater enough to touch, but that mail and calendar app seems to be really good for quick triage, especially through touch. And I was a little worried when I wrote about Monarch because I'm like, I like the web app when I'm using pointer references, but when I'm using a tablet or tablet mode or anything that's going to essentially, in the future be a dual screen, foldable or whatever, I want to use the mail and calendar app. I just want more features for it. So if they're going to start designing the web app based on, the Outlook.com one, I'm a little worried about that. But I do, like you, I love using the built-in mail app especially when in touch mode.
Same. I use it on my Surface Go, and I have a Surface Go 1, and when you click on Edge, it's 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and it pops up, and then the new page, a new tab page flashes, and you're like, come on. But when you click on that mail icon, boom, it's right there.
Exactly.
I mean, and there is something especially with a mail app where you use it so often, you want it to be quick. You don't want it to take a gig of RAM. I mean, it's like, the little things.
That actually will segue us into another question that we have. What is the best and worst thing about developing for Windows 10?
Oh man,
just run with it.
Just go full on.
Yeah, there's so I've done a little bit of, or I've toyed around with web development. I don't know if anybody sort of knows Ruby on Rails, and all of the web stack. So just to compare, like UWP development versus any sort of, maybe say JavaScript, like React development. UWP, you go to visualstudio.com. You install their application, you check all of their boxes, you see little progress bars, you hit OK, build, new, done, there it is. You want to upload it to their store, you hit package, you upload it, it opens Microsoft's website, everything is Microsoft end to end, which is good. You go to Microsoft's forums for when you have problems, you email, tweet at Microsoft when you have issues, like all the sorts of stuff.
Yeah, you feel a big butt coming on.
No, that's great when it works. But as soon as something doesn't work, it's like, well, Microsoft built it, and the part that's breaking is a closed source element, and you don't have, you can't see why it's breaking, and there are no substitutes. You have to do it their way, and it's, I've had issues where I can't build a package for InCalendar, or the signing, the way that it has the certificates on my desktop, and I'm testing on my laptop, and it's like just all sorts of little weird stuff that can get messed up, and you basically either have to do it their way, or that's it. You have to do it their way. And like with web development, there's a million choices. There's a million paths, which has its own problems. I mean, you have a million different sources for like help and how to, and there's no right way to do it, and there's no wrong way to do it, and so yeah, they're different.
Do you think the process has gotten more complicated as they've added more tools to their stack?
Yeah, UWP, they're definitely, it makes development harder because it's so contained and locked down, and they want to make it through the store, and the API surface is limited because obviously you can't just do anything. You don't have full access to a user's computer, which I think is a good thing. But that means that whenever you are trying to do a final release, all those security checks kind of get all complicated and messed up. Like if you're just building a WPF app and you want to make a little exe and put it up on the web for people to download, it's easy. But it's also easy to do that because it's dangerous. You could put anything in there. You could do anything. You have full access to a person's computer. And so I think there are trade-offs, but I think mainly they are just security trade-offs that Microsoft is trying to do.
I think this actually would go into, again, Eric's next question, which I believe, you're asking about exclusivity.
Yeah, so I believe I messaged you when I had my Surface Duo. I asked you about Ink Calendar and porting it over to Android. So is there any specific reason why you're exclusive to Windows for now and why you're not looking into the other platforms like Android or iOS?
Well, I mean, it's one of those really simple things is I'm not a professional developer. I don't have an Android phone. So, and I don't have a Mac.
Are you still rocking a Windows phone?
No. I know. iPhone. Sorry, iPhone 8.
We just lost half our audience right there.
I know. I used a Windows phone. Lumia 830 was my last Windows phone for so long. I mean, it was crazy. My first app was a Windows Phone app. But yeah, I don't have a Mac, so I can't make iOS apps.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably, I think I would make some apps, but I use Windows every day, and I love it. So, and I really like C#. C# it's great. It's so much fun to write.
This guy he's toying with the idea of Mac right now.
Yeah, Mac's fine, but I use Windows at work. I have Windows for at home when I play games, when I develop, it just works for everything. And I like to keep stuff simple. I don't like having a million different platforms if I can. But I have toyed around with web development because that's kind of the golden goose. You write one line of code and any device, anywhere, anything can get at it. So,
are progressive web apps the future?
They are the future for some people. I don't know. I would have, a year ago, I would have said, oh, yeah. But I'm like, where are they? What is a good example of a really good progressive web app that really shows that, no, this cannot be a regular website and it's better than or just as good as an app? I don't know.
Well, as someone who you just mentioned getting into web development, do you see any potential, large hurdles as to why more people aren't just investing their time into this one platform and then distributing it out to mobile and desktop? Because it seems like on paper, this is where you would invest your time and money. Like, why would you want to hire or assign or take time out of your day to coordinate different platforms when you can just say, here's the web and I distribute it everywhere?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the web is just so complicated. Like the idea of if it is everywhere, that means if your app is super simple and it's like Twitter, where you're refreshing a feed, and that can work on phones, that can work on desktops, easy. But if you have something like Teams,
Teams,
you get a bunch of different. You have video, and you have video performance, and you have audio, and you have messaging, and you have documents, and you have tasks, and you have it's like, oh my gosh. You have to consider all those different UIs for all the different screen sizes. And then you're also, if it's a web app, you're on a layer that you don't control. So your app is running on a browser. Is it Safari? Is it Chrome? Is it an out-of-date version of Chrome? Is it Internet Explorer, which my coworkers use all the time? Yeah. You have no idea. You have no control. And with no control comes kind of a chaotic way to try to triage bugs. And the people who are using your app aren't developers. They're not professionals when it comes to, giving you bug reports. So if you're a big company and you're going to make that investment, you have to like hire probably a ton of people just to work with the customers who are seeing problems. Because, oh, my app won't work. Okay. What browser are you on? What is this? What is that? What operating system? I mean, there's so many layers, and it's just, I don't know. It's just so much more complicated. And if you're a small team and you have a really focused application, maybe you don't need to go on web. But if you want to reach everyone, yeah, you have to go web. It doesn't matter what. Like, if you have broad appeal.
It is going to be a problem for them too, because from everything we're hearing with Windows 10, this was a question I also had for him. Everything we're hearing with Windows 10X is that there won't be no Win32 apps. It's all just going to be slim down, lightweight, and version of Windows like Chrome OS where you do everything on the web. So what would you like to see in the next version of Windows 10 or even Windows 10X personally as a developer?
As a developer,
yeah,
I want to be able to put things on the taskbar. I have a couple apps where I could definitely use the taskbar as a way to interact with the app and not take over your screen or interact with the screen as much. That's like a simple little thing that I don't think we'll ever see, because it seems like Microsoft is trying to move away from OS specific, especially Windows specific things. Yeah, whatever. That's how they're going to be. There's a really old API that goes back to like Windows XP that you can use, but come on, like let's get something new here. But with Windows 10X, I feel like trade-offs. So far in the ARM story, and everybody who's ever used, Surface RT, Surface RT2, Windows, the Surface Pro X, all these devices, it seems like the trade-offs aren't there. So you lose compatibility, but you gain some kind of weird maybe battery life, and you're like, eh.
Yeah.
And like Instant On isn't there really, or it kind of was, but then like your battery life wasn't as good as an iPad, and it's not as good as your phone. It's not as quick as your phone. So,
well, they also had that like hot bag issue, didn't they? With the way it was being implemented, it would like just randomly turn on,
right,
to get a download and not shut itself off.
Right. So I think the reason why a lot of people use their phone for apps and do a lot of stuff on their phone is because it's in their pocket, and they can walk around with it, and they can pull it out, hit the button, and it's awake, and they can do stuff, and they put it away. But if I'm like, oh, let me, look at my email real quick, I open up my Windows laptop, and I wait for it to wake up, and I wait, and I wait, okay, and then it wakes up, and then I'm like, all right, here we go, and then you log in, and then you got to open your browser, and it's like, I mean, if Windows 10X was quicker when it came to that, and it had some sort of, efficient sleep state, no Win32, but, great battery life on the same device and a really good quick resume, it's like, okay, I might pick it up more often. And I think that's the key is if there's a table with a phone and a, tablet and a laptop, which one are you going to grab for what? Like if I'm writing a long email, laptop, if I'm going to go grab an Uber, I'm not going to grab the laptop. So I think you really got to think about why and what device is the best.
Well, with that being said, and to your point just a second ago, do you have anything mapped out on the roadmap on the horizon for maybe doing more mobile? If Microsoft can't, or if the way that Windows 10X is going is more along those lines, are you worried about it? Or are you like looking at more mobile-esque type app development?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like most of the apps I have in mind are either desktop applications like WPF for Windows, or more tablet sized. I feel like I don't have any.
I agree.
Yeah, I have no ideas for like social apps, or I don't have ideas for like, I don't know, some hologram camera thing. I don't know. I just don't have those ideas right now. But yeah, we'll see. Windows 10X to me is interesting from if Microsoft can make a device that actually has some benefits for being limited, then maybe people will be more interested in getting apps that do the same kind of thing, like UWP apps that, like we said, the mail app is quick and light. Maybe not fully featured, doesn't take a gig of RAM, but I'd say that's a good thing sometimes. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Hopefully they actually don't try to please everyone and make some sort of weird thing that doesn't actually it's not really good for anyone. And that seems like that's what they've tried to do in the past.
I feel like if you were in the meeting for Windows 10X, you would have been kicked out right now. They were like, let's get you the hell out of here and let's go back to what we're going to do. We're going to please everybody and make a spaghetti meatball sandwich out of this entire thing.
I don't know. Seems risky.
I'm not huge in the Windows 10X thing just because I don't see, at least as it's being described. And again, a lot of this is rumors of stuff we get from Zach and his sources and things like that. But I don't see the benefit. Like even with Windows 10S mode, I could see the light at the end of the tunnel, what they were going for as far as the Chromebook competitor. But Windows 10X also being a Chromebook competitor, but not offering the same sort of compatibility that Windows 10S can do, just seems really weird. And again, I need to see it more fleshed out. But as of right now, I'm kind of like, okay, I'll stick with Windows 10. It's got everything I need. Just give me better battery somehow.
Right. Yeah, I love Microsoft, and that's why I talk about the things I love and the things I don't love. But I use them every day, and I'm probably going to use them every day in 10 years. So I want it to be better in 10 years. I don't want it to be the same.
Here's going to be my last question. I mean, I have tons of questions, so we'll chat. Twitter and stuff like that. But my last, interview question is, do you find, or do you even try to market on the Microsoft Store? Like, do you think that the changes that they've made from when your first app, which you just told us had a few downloads, to what they've done now has helped, or would you like to see more or a different way to promote?
Yeah, Windows app development is definitely like this weird redheaded stepchild in the world of app development. If you go to Twitter right now and you say, I want to buy ads to to drive downloads of my app, they'll say, okay, yeah, is it an iOS app or an Android app? And I'm like, it's a Windows. Like, there's no option for Windows apps. I think I've tried paying for Microsoft. I think it's through the store or something to pay for it, but it just doesn't really return like you would think. I would, every time I use the store app, it's a weird app. It does weird stuff. I honestly feel like it's like a web. Like, I wonder if it's actually built with web technology, the way that it behaves. But yeah, the developer experience leaves a lot to be desired. I think Microsoft is used to dealing with big corporate developers with these big mega apps that they manage the support, they manage distribution, and they build it for Windows. And with UWP, they were like, hey, we can hire a couple people, put a dashboard up there, and we will be as successful as the iOS app store. Not so much. They haven't really invested in the backside of Microsoft has to manage app data and downloads and store pages and reviews and replying and like all the weird stuff that developers have to deal with. It's just not a great experience on the back end, and it has not changed or improved since I've been a developer, which is unfortunate, but it hasn't been enough to drive me away.
They're working their hardest, apparently.
Yeah, the one guy who has halftime on this. I don't know.
Yeah. It is Microsoft we're talking about after all, so.
Right.
It is what it is, right?
I mean, it's still working, so I appreciate that, and it works, and usually it's fine, but man, it is weird.
Well, I want to thank you for your time.
Like I said, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I follow you on Twitter, and I would suggest everyone else do. And if you want to give out your social media handles or any other information, feel free to do it right now. And
so I'm on Twitter at the Joe Finn, TheJoeFin. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to email me at joe@inkcalendar.com or joe@textgrabber.net. Or textgrab.net. I always say Grabber. I mean, maybe I should buy that domain too, and that would be easy.
There you go.
I think that one was taken actually, so I had to shorten it. So yeah, any of those ways to get a hold of me. If you have any questions about Windows development, I'd love to try to answer them. I'm also still a, beginner as far as a lot of stuff is concerned. I do some UWP stuff, but I can definitely point your question in the right direction.
All right, thanks so much, Joe. We really appreciate having you on.
Yeah, so we look forward to hearing from you again soon.
Sweet. Alrighty.
All right, thanks, Joe.
Yeah, good talking.
Best,
all right, take care.
Yeah, you too.
Stay safe.
Oh, it's just us two again now.
You guys are stuck with us. We'll try to make it short.
Well, Joe did get into we kind of went back and forth between a lot of topics, but he covered a lot of things we would talk about, so we'll just try and keep it brief here to end. But the second topic that we wanted to get into was the new news and interest section in the Windows 10 taskbar, which Joe just so happened to talk about. So Kareem and I are always saying, when the hell are we going to see new Windows 10 features? So I do have my Windows Insider hat, so it's time to put it on because we got a brand new Windows feature for the first time.
Are there cobwebs in there?
Yeah, it was gathering dust, so I cleaned it up a bit. Now we're fresh and we're ready to talk about the latest Windows feature, which is the news and interests section in the Windows 10 taskbar. So if you didn't hear, it's coming in the latest Windows Insider Dev build. I think it's build 2.1286 from the Redstone pre-release branch, if I'm getting that right. So anyway, the feature is kind of like the old Windows sidebar feature from Windows Vista, but it's in your taskbar where you click this icon in your taskbar and it'll bring up a little pop-up hub and you'll be able to see the weather, your sports, news stories from a whole bunch, from stocks, live maps, from a whole bunch of different sources. And the point of the feature is, I think Panos was tweeting about it and posting on Instagram. Microsoft doesn't want you to take your phone out of your pocket every single time, like Joe was saying when he was on earlier. Take your phone to check the weather, take your phone to check the news, take your phone to check the traffic. With this new news and interest section in the taskbar, you just click the corner in the taskbar and you'll get the pop-up hub with everything that you need to know. So it's basically pushing Windows further a bit, even though it's a feature that, as you said, something that nobody asked for.
Yeah, no, it isn't. But you and I talked off mic about Windows 10 and its lack of tablet features. You wrote a piece about this, especially specifically talking about the browser and things like that. Like, it seems as much as they've refined Windows 10 and kind of drug it out of the morass that is Windows 8, they left a lot of the tablet features behind. And I feel like if this is going to be a Windows 10X thing, and as Joe said, he wants more features in the taskbar, we have a really robust search, at least for Windows 10, considering in the taskbar with the search icon. You can search web, you can search apps, you can search the desktop. And putting this off to the right, or I guess left-hand side of the taskbar now, is making all that stuff touch accessible for people who have like a Surface Pro, Surface Pro X, Surface Go. If you don't already have the taskbar and hide feature, which I do, you can kind of swipe up from the bottom to bring it up. If it's just there constantly, you can reach your thumb over, hit that the visual on the taskbar that'll bring up this basically widget panel, this widget overlay as you're still doing stuff. So you're in your email, you're looking at an Excel thing, and you want to just check something really quick. You hit it with your thumb, the overlay pops up right on top, right above the app you're already using, and you get this cool little jolt of information. And again, this is a thing that I think can traverse desktop and tablet mode for a lot of people, or people who have foldables, I guess, that are becoming out, like the Windows, or like Lenovo's X1 Fold or whatever it's called. So this is, potentially one step towards the visual overhaul that could incorporate more touch things.
And
and
it
still
does
be
look it does look pretty nice too because it has all the fluent design background. I mean, my editor at my other publication was saying, "Hey, maybe this is them testing one of the core elements of Windows 10X, and we don't even know it." I remember a couple weeks ago we were talking about that before the break.
Yeah, and speaking of testing core elements and visual designs, our next topic.
Segue.
Look at that! I'm getting as good as you are, and I just ruined it by highlighting that. It's the new Outlook, the new One Outlook vision, which is being called Project Monarch on the inside in Microsoft. It's basically another stab at consolidating Outlook somehow, making it one app versus the desperate like 3 apps I think we have currently. Um, from what the story is, we see that Microsoft is underway with a project called Monarch. It intends to replace the Windows 10 desktop client and UWP or web app so far. Some of you might be scratching your head saying, well, what about the actual business one? They're not touching that for right now. So for those of you who rely upon that, which I believe are in the millions, if not billions, that one is not being touched, but they do have plans to bring that into the fold, years down the road once this one comes out. With that being said, Project Monarch isn't due to see the light of day until 2022 at the earliest. Microsoft lets dates slip, so we could be looking at, probably the end of 2022, maybe the beginning of 2023. But it's a long haul in order to get this new web-based, web-powered version of Outlook on there. We had a secondary story after I wrote it, written by Laurent, who goes into more detail about the app itself. I mean, as of right now, you need a
internal Microsoft account. Yep.
Internal Microsoft account to test it out, and it's really just a shell of the current web app that they have. The idea is that they're going to take the web app and build in all of the tie-ins to OS-specific features. So you'll be able to basically run the app without having the heavyweight load of Outlook on your computer, but still get all the benefits of notifications and a lot of the feature-heavy things where they save cache and things like that on your desktop to make it speedy. Again, this is, we had our first look at it. You can look at it on the article I wrote or the article that Lauren wrote. It's, visually nice. It still looks a lot like the same of the current OWA app or whatnot. So we haven't seen a lot of the fluent designs brought over to the web yet, but this is planned. So for those of you who are what Microsoft considers quote unquote brave dog fooders, you can try and there's a step process to kind of get into testing this. Again, you're not going to see a lot of new features or benefits yet because this thing is, again, a year or so off in development. So we'll keep you up to date on the news and any new developments that come up with that. But again, just keep this in the back of your mind that Microsoft is attempting to consolidate Outlook once again. And hopefully we don't get a third, fourth, fifth app out of the process and instead of doing the one that they wanted.
It's not just a glorified progressive web app, is it?
No. It's it uses HTML5. And it will have, like I said, features integrations into the OS itself. It's also, what is it?
Yeah, there's a lot of rumors about it right now, so we're not sure what is
what is it or what isn't there yet.
Because Microsoft didn't even officially announce it. It was just a random rumor that came out of nowhere in the middle of the week.
Yeah, but like we said, it's going to be beefier than a regular progressive web app, and it's supposed to, again, if it's at some point going to consolidate the actual weightlifter that is Outlook, the app itself. Also to keep in mind, this isn't just Windows based only. Obviously, it's the web, so it's meant to replace what Mac will be using and what people can get on Android and apps, things like that. So again, this is supposed to be the one. We'll see. We'll see how Microsoft's consolidation efforts have gone in the past.
So that's pretty much everything that we had for the podcast this week, which means
it was a dry week because everyone's on vacation. So,
but there was a lot of news for the first week in January. But usually January is all about CS, but Microsoft did start things off with a bang with the news and interesting, and then also the rumors about Project Monarch. But there's still a lot to come this week ahead, which means it's time for the week ahead segment,
Oh,
where we'll be talking about CES news and also some editorial stuff that we have planned on Microsoft for this week.
yeah. As you mentioned, CES is underway. We've seen some Microsoft partners kind of release their lineup for 2021. Dell coming out of the gate with its new, how do you pronounce it? Is it Latitude or
Latitude?
Latitude lineup? The Precision lineups have all gotten refreshes. Some of them are coming. I don't know if they did this last year, the year before last, but they're coming preloaded, or you can configure with Ubuntu, Linux OS. Some of them are also exploring AMD as a chipset. So this is going to be news, I think, throughout the thread of CES is the exploration of higher performance Snapdragon chipsets for some of the 5G connected laptops or devices, and AMD coming out of the gate with some better performing, cooler running, less expensive chips to kind of go against Intel. So we'll see. Lenovo also came out with its lineup early on. We got to see some additions to the IdeaPad, I believe. They're now equipping that with 5G, which means it'll be running a Snapdragon processor in there. And I haven't seen any benchmarks on it yet, but it's supposed to be, as everyone says, every year it's 30% better than the last year. So we'll see how those work out. So we'll be keeping you updated. Just keep a look at the week about new devices that are coming out. Everyone's going to be trying to. It's interesting because we're in the quarantine. A lot of these things have been mobile first devices, putting LTE, 5G in it, instant on, things like that. And obviously they were in production long before the pandemic happened. So it'll be interesting to see how everyone navigates this new sort of work from home, sort of going back to work, sort of reduced staffed or reduced occupancy outside of the home, and how they kind of add that in their marketing.
And there's also some stuff to talk about with Microsoft Edge. It's a topic that we've covered before. A couple of weeks ago, the Canary version of Edge got the support for Apple M1 Macs, but now it's also moving into the dev branch as well, which means usually when stuff hit the dev branch, it's usually just 2 or 3 weeks or probably a month or a month and a half away before it goes to stable. So we're expecting the stable version of Edge to get support for Apple's M1 Macs pretty soon.
Yeah, and then our last one bit of information is a little fun thing about Windows, and it's our own co-host here has gotten himself a mixed reality headset. He's revisiting it after what's it, 3.5, 4 years.
Yeah, in 2017, I did have the Lenovo Explorer Windows mixed reality headset. That was when Windows mixed reality was supposedly going to be a quote unquote mainstream thing, where you saw headsets from Dell and HP, Lenovo, and Samsung. But since then, obviously, I believe I checked it just before we came on, and Windows mixed reality headsets are only about 10% of the market right now. So it's not really something that's popular amongst people who are into VR and AR. But I did get one, and we're using it for the past couple days, especially with Flight Simulator. So look out for my impressions of the Samsung HMD Plus Odyssey. I don't know the name off my top of my head, but it's basically Samsung's last Windows mixed reality headset, and my impressions for the headset and how it works with Windows mixed reality. It's going to be 2 separate posts, one with just how it works in Microsoft Flight Sim, like we were saying back in December, how I wanted to get my hands on with VR and Flight Sim. So now finally happened, and you'll see a hands-on impressions post from me about that. And then the second part is just a general look at revisiting Windows mixed reality in 2021 and like how far it's come since it was introduced. Look at Steam VR and some of the games and stuff like that.
Yeah, so we'll have some gaming news that isn't Xbox related.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, that's it for our week back. We hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys are staying safe.
Yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. You can find us on Twitter. I am at abacjern, and you are?
At Mindhead1.
He still doesn't have the original Mindhead name.
No, I've actually spoken with the person. They're not giving it up, and I don't have the money to fight it. So I'm going to make Mindhead1 way more popular than the original Mindhead.
Well, yeah, that's it, everyone. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you again soon. Same place, same time.
Thank you.